now. So if you do not want your lovely faces shown on the video or the recording, feel free to go ahead and turn your camera off, but we love to see you all. Also, we'll stream it on Facebook, and we'll be capturing comments and questions from there and kind of bringing it into the conversation as we go. So I'm going to mute my mic. I ask everyone who is not on the panel and not speaking to have your mic muted so we can have the best possible audio for the playback for folks who weren't able to join us. And I'll mute my mic, and then I will go live on Facebook, and then we'll get started. Sound good? Cool. Cool, cool. All right, everyone. It looks like we are now live streaming onto Facebook. So everyone watching on Facebook, we're going to wave to everybody who's not in the Zoom with us. So I'll kick this off by saying welcome to our Northside Business Luncheon. Our topic this month is e-commerce. My name is Felicia Perry. I am the Executive Director of the West Broadway Business and Area Coalition. And I typically do this whole intro and all that stuff, but I will be passing most of that off today to my colleagues. Brian and perhaps Terry at Neon might have some updates from that end. But the Northside Business Luncheons are these monthly events that we throw where we get together with our business community here, primarily in North Minneapolis. We go over various topics that bring great information and resources to help all of the businesses thrive here in North Minneapolis. This event is done in partnership and co-hosted with Northside Economic Opportunity Network, otherwise known as NEON, who is a partner and collaborator in a lot of the economic development and business development work that we do across North Minneapolis. So we're so happy to be partnering with them the last few years to create programming that our businesses and community have found super helpful in their journey through entrepreneurship. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn my camera and my microphone off and hand it on over to you, Brian, who is our program manager here at WBC.
Thank you, Felicia, and for that introduction, and thank all of you for being in attendance today. I hope you're as excited as I am to hear about our topic today on e-commerce. Before we get into that today, we just want to highlight a few updates. So before we get into the WBC updates, I want to turn it over to Terry Austin so he can provide us with a few updates from Neon. Terry, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Brian. This is going to be a great luncheon today, so I'll be fairly short. One of the things that we're working on here at Neon is the Metro Blue Line transit that will be coming through. They're taking surveys right now. There's a transit route that's being proposed that's looking at coming from Brooklyn Park over to West Broadway or either Laurie. It's very important that our residents, as well as our business owners, small business owners as well, take a look at this survey and give as much input as possible. This will impact your business. This will impact the community. This will impact the overall economic development on the West Side here in Broadway or either on Laurie. So we want to make sure that the residents know about this and participate. Your voice needs to be heard. I can't say that loud enough, that we need your input. And so as much input is needed, there will probably be some displacement that will happen. We want to make sure that we provide resources that's available for those businesses as well. Construction will take over 3 years. So this will impact the community as well as some residents here on the north side. And then next to, we have, there's a virtual update with the urban homeworks that we've taken place this afternoon as well. I don't have the flyer directly in front of me. So Brian, I'll give that towards the end of the details with the urban homeworks. But the most important thing is to make sure that most residents and business owners take advantage of taking a look at the survey and giving their input. So that's what I have today with Neon.
Thank you, Terry, for providing those updates. Just a couple updates from WBC. I don't know if many of you know, but there is a new program out there called the Restaurant Revitalization Program. This is being instituted by the federal government, and this is an opportunity for those who are in the food industry to get some assistance. I have been talking with several members of our community who are in the restaurant business, and some of them are already active in submitting applications. So it is vital. We will be sure to put a link today to the not the application, but the information on it. So those of you who may have interest in following up with that will know what steps to take. Also, keep in mind, as Terry alluded to, the light rail that's coming through, there are several meetings that have been taking place, and there's opportunities for you to be heard. We want the community to be heard on this. This is probably one of the most important things that have happened in this area in a very long time as it relates to transportation. So let's not miss out on the opportunity to have our voices heard. Again, we will provide the link for that as well. So you can, they have some very interesting tools where you can, make your voice heard, but also get information as to what some of the potential routes are. As Terry alluded to, this is very important, and we want to be a part of it. Without further ado, we're going to get into our panel discussion today. I am excited about the guests we have today. One of the first guests we have, her name is Roseline Friedrich. Roseline Friedrich is the owner of Roseline Candles, and that is a Black woman immigrant-owned business. Started by candle lovers and collectors of jars. All of the candles are 100% soy wax and hand-poured in recycled glass jars. They are a sustainable business, and they fully believe in recycling, reusing, and reducing waste. These values are carried out in several of their businesses, from production to packaging. They're currently looking at opening a storefront and also working on rebranding. They're a sustainable business and strive to stay eco-friendly. These values are carried out in the following ways. They have zero plastic in any of their packaging. Their tape, packaging stuffers, wrapping paper are biodegradable and 100% BPI certified compostable. Say that again. The shipping boxes they use are made to order with recycled materials and fully recyclable. They use only recyclable jars to make their candles. Some jars are from glass recycling manufacturers and other from locals who recycle their jars with them. We are excited to have Roseline Friedrich with us today. Roseline, if you're out there, would you please wave your hand so everyone can see you? Thank you very, very much. Our other guest here today with us today is Katie Myhre. Katie is a big advocate for the small businesses that are the lifeblood of our cities and towns. From farmers markets to commercial kitchens to barbershops on West Broadway, she's worked in a variety of settings to ensure the small businesses have the tools they need to succeed. She partners with Northside Economic Opportunity Network to serve Northside-owned businesses by building websites, honing value propositions, and adding tools to their existing websites so businesses can expand their reach to their customers. Katie, if you're out there, would you please raise your hand? Hello, Katie, and
Thanks,
welcome. Okay, I'm hoping that you both have your mics unmuted because we want to hear from you today. And to start our discussion, let me ask you a very direct question for those who are somewhat archaic like myself. What exactly does e-commerce refer to?
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Roseline. Oh, I was gonna say you can go first. For me, it just means that the majority of my sales comes from an online platform. I don't have a location. I don't have a store. I sell everything that I make through a website. So the bulk of my revenue comes from an e-commerce and like online shopping.
Yep, the electronic commerce making money. So
Yep.
Online sales, keep it simple.
Yep.
Wow, the world has come a long way from the old brick and mortar where you have to have a physical site to make money, huh? What are the different types of e-commerce that exist out there?
Yeah, I can start with that one, and then Roseline, maybe you can share how you sort of decided on your choice of e-commerce. The way I think about it, there's two main channels for e-commerce, one being that you're selling your product on someone else's website, and then the other being that you're selling it on your own site. So I think of things like Etsy or Amazon, where you can be making a product and then you use someone else's marketing and website and promotional reach. You sort of piggyback on that to sell your products through that. And there's never an all or nothing. You could do both at the same time, and there's a variety of choices. But yeah, I think of it as selling on your own website that you built yourself, or selling on another marketplace that is a collective of many sales companies.
Yeah. So
Have you
basically
used any of those avenues? Go ahead, Rose. I'm sorry.
Oh, so basically what Katie said, there's a variety of ways to sell on using an online platform only. Either you can do it on your own and build your website from scratch, or there's multiple other factors that come into place when it comes to selling online.
And do you sell on Etsy or another site as well, or are you only selling through your own platform?
Only through my platform.
Cool. And how did you decide that? I'm just curious.
So my family, we grew up really frugal. I didn't want anybody taking in any parts of my profits and my labor.
Yep.
So I didn't want Etsy or Amazon or other places taking a huge portion of my money.
Love that. Yeah, that's great.
Wow, Katie, I think you're coming for my job. What? You're asking better questions than I am. Okay, so now that we know what e-commerce is, here's where the rubber meets the road. What are some of the challenges small business owners face when utilizing e-commerce for their businesses?
Since I'm very much in the thick of it, there's multiple ones. The main one is just tech issues. A lot of people get intimidated by coding and all these other things that you have to do. It's another one major factor is finding a really good website builder that will help you walk you through everything and hold your hand as you learn the process of how to work on your e-commerce platform. It took me about 6 months to learn how to navigate my own website as with my credentials as like the website manager. And that can be intimidating. There were days that I was just like, I want to give up and just go to Etsy, or give up and just go to markets and not worry about this website. And so it is intimidating having to code things and look at things. And that was the major part of it for me.
Yeah, that's something that I see a lot with businesses businesses who have been doing their thing for 20 years, they feel that way, or businesses who are brand new. The internet component can be really intimidating for people, but I think this is one silver lining of COVID. The tools out there have just grown exponentially through this time, because so many businesses have had to say, I'm used to just doing my business in person, and that's good, but I can't see my people. I can't see my customers. I can't do events. I can't bring a crowd into my space. So what do I do? So as a result, we've seen all of these awesome tools that have come out, but it can be overwhelming to start that process. And Roseline, I love what you said about it took you 6 months to kind of get the swing of it. that's really what it takes. Is you just got to take it slow, and you got to be patient with yourself, and know that there's going to be some things that you're confused about, and work through those. And I think with the tools out there today, anyone can learn to manage their own site. It just, it may take some folks a little bit longer than others. The other challenge I would say too, that I see a lot is that, folks think that putting a website up is going to automatically start driving sales. And putting a website up is a form of marketing, but it's not in place of your marketing. You still have to have promotions. You have to have social media if that's what you use, email, newsletters. You've got to hit the pavement and expose people to your brand. And you've got to have a really strong, clear brand. Like Roseline, what I'm hearing from you, you've got the sustainability thing. You've got these beautiful candles that are really unique flavors. Like that all fits into how you communicate about your brand. And most people have never heard of a business, and they need you to tell them about it. And they'll probably need you to tell them a few times about it, and in a few different ways. So I just remind folks that don't think that once you get your website up, the job is done. The job is just getting started, and that the website is sort of your anchor. And then that anchor is where you drive your promotions to make that sale. So that could be, a combination of social media, email. There's a variety of ways to do marketing, and every business is a little bit different. But that's what I would say is the big challenge. Is you got to figure out another way to get to customers that's not just through the website, because there's billions of websites out there, and you gotta find out what gets to your customers, and what gets them onto the site.
Hey, Katie, I got a quick question for you.
Mm-hmm.
When you start thinking about the platform, as far as using someone else's platform outside of yourself, a lot of small businesses think they can drive a lot of businesses there. Can you tell us the costs that may be associated with that may prohibit, or it may be an advantage to a vendor to say, you know what, I think I need to do this because I can't afford additional employees, but I may want to take just kind of take advantage of using their platform where it may be a little bit more profitable?
Yeah, so I think of a business without as strong of an individual brand. They may want to do that. Etsy has a clear brand. They have a platform specifically for makers who are selling unique crafted products. And if you identify with that, and you don't have a following yet, you're new at it, you're not sure who your customer base even is yet, I would say that's a really good choice, because what you're paying for through what's typically a percentage model, they take a percentage of your sales, or sometimes sites like that take a flat membership fee. So you might pay $100 a month to be on the site. That's typically the cost, but the benefit is that they do promotions, and people already know about Etsy. And when they're looking for a gift for their grandma or for their sister, they're already going to go to Etsy. So that makes you all the more discoverable on that site. The threshold for entry is also a little bit lower, so you don't have to build all of the features out. They're already there for you. You just have to upload pictures and prices, and there's a little bit of work in making sure the language about your product is right. But again, it's not the same sort of endeavor of building your own website and choosing the platform, and making sure that you are proficient in all of those little hiccups that are bound to happen with technology. So yeah, I think there's a lot of great parts of it, but yeah, Roseline hit it on the head. It takes some of your money of your profit, and if that's not worth it to you, if you want to do that marketing on your own, and you want to really drive your own traffic, that's great too, and that would be maybe not worth the cost.
Okay, great. My last question is, you don't lose any of your marketing, like you wouldn't use or either lose your name of your marketing just because you use a third-party vendor to do that, correct?
No, and if there's a third party that's asking you to do that, I would be very cautious.
Okay.
Your brand is that's your value. That's what makes you, and that's what makes your business rememberable to people. Think about like Nike. Nike isn't gonna take Target's branding. They're gonna keep the Nike on the shirt and have that branding, and then they're just gonna sell it through that channel. So I would say be protective of your brand. That's your most valuable thing, is how people identify you and how people keep coming back. And I'd be very cautious of any business that would ask you to not keep your brand in a platform, a collective platform like Etsy.
Okay, well, thank you.
Great information. You guys kind of touched on this quite a bit, I think, because you were so thorough in answering the last question. but I at least want to maybe go a little deeper dive based on your experiences. So here's a question. What are common pitfalls or mistakes that entrepreneurs make when using e-commerce platforms?
I think that for me, right away was spending too much money to build a brand and build a website that's perfect before you launch a product. So I'm selling a product right now, and before I launched my product, I committed myself to not spending more money than what my product would yield. So I listened to, I'm a big nerd. Before becoming a business owner, I was a huge reader and listener of books on e-commerce. And one of the things that you want to do is just to launch right away, whether it's you're launching your business on Instagram or whatever, asking people to DM me and see if it works. If it's not driving sales, why would you need to have a complicated website? So for me, when I started selling candles, I didn't have a website. I had people, I just posted pictures on Instagram and said, do you like this? If so, send me a message and I will work out a way to get this to you. I never used to ship. I would personally take the items to people's houses and it was free, or they would pick up from my house. So the main thing that people do is they wait too long to have a perfect brand and a perfect product to launch. I have friends who've been waiting to launch for the last 2 years. And they're waiting to have a perfect product and a perfect branding and a perfect marketing and a perfect website. And you don't know if it's going to work unless you launch it and see and test the market. And for me, I had to test the market right away to see is this idea even going to sell? And if so, I will keep going at it. And you want to be cautious not to spend too much money on those things, not to throw $2,000 at a website designer to make a website without knowing if this unique product that you just made is going to make it in the market.
That's a great point that you bring up. That's an excellent point, because people spend so much money on the front end of their business without having the appropriate resources. So that's a great point. Yep.
Yeah, and just to add on that, I love everything that you said. And to even make matters worse, sometimes people hire other people to do that work and end up getting, a bid for $2,500, $3,000. And let me just tell you all, most of the needs of small business websites, they shouldn't cost you more than, a subscription per month, and then maybe like under 1,000 to get you started, probably much less. And be skeptical of web designers, because a lot of folks don't have any experience. A lot of business owners don't have any experience with web design, so they assume that there's all these technical pieces that are really expensive, and that's knowledge that it's too far away from them. They can't have that knowledge. They need to pay somebody else to do it. That's just not true anymore. There are ways that, even like hiring a younger, like a college student to help you out with it at a reduced rate, and like working with them there's a lot of creative ways to do it that don't cost as much when you make the decision that your business is ready for the website. So Roseline, you nailed it. I don't need to add much to that.
Yeah. And can I add really quickly to that?
Absolutely.
So for me, it's always looking for the resources in your community that are already in your fingertips. When I started my candle business, I cannot tell you how many emails I got from random people that were like, let me help you build your website. You want to be cautious of that and go, like I went to Neon, and I also went to the West Broadway, business school. I went to the Black Women's Wealth Alliance. I went to those places and said, what resources do you have to help me work on this? Because I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't know how to do these things. And so being cautious of receiving that kind of help from random people who don't know they don't know your community or your market. So how are they going to help you? Like through finding you on Facebook and Instagram, like they don't know anything about you. So being careful to go to the people that like find places. I'm a University of Minnesota alumni person, and I would go to the university. What free resources do you have for alumni to help us start our small businesses? And for me, it only cost me $20 to $30 a month to manage my whole website. That's all. Because I bought my own domain. I hosted the site myself, and then I use free resources like WordPress and WooCommerce to manage the website and build the website. And so, on the front end, the only amount of money I spent was $600 to find a woman in Miami who was a Black woman to help me build how do I build a website? Like, I was like, I will only want like the basics. I told her, like, how little can I spend to get you to build me a very basic website? And she said, oh, $600. I was like, I have 500. And she took it. So
You better barter.
Hey, Brian, can I ask a quick question really quick? I want to know from the website to social media, because a lot of times people are able to bridge the gap between their website and other sites like social media and other things to link their website to that to drive additional traffic. Is that something that you guys are doing or either find valuable?
Yeah, I do that. So I'm very present on Instagram. That's another thing that I want people to understand is that marketing, like Katie was saying, a website does not replace marketing. So when I started my business, I did not post very much on Instagram, but I kid you not, my sales are up from went from like $1,000 a month to $3,000 to $5,000 a month based on website Instagram marketing. And so for me, I try all the things that I'm told. And so Neon hired a woman by the name of Pam from the marketing troupe to walk me through basics of how to add things to Instagram and Facebook. So my website is connected to Instagram and Facebook. And I have a link to my website on my Instagram and my Facebook. And I have a business account on both platforms. Instagram doesn't charge me a fee for people going on my website through my Instagram account. And I always make sure I communicate my brand over and over and over again to people on Instagram and Facebook. So they know that it's me and that the website they're going to is me. And I make sure that my messaging is the same. So I'm working right now. It's taken me about a year before I even rebranded or even all the things that I've done. I made my own logo on Canva. Like I didn't pay someone to create my logo for me. Like I just kind of just like was like, I'm frugal. I don't want to take out any loans. I don't want to owe the government money just because I want to have a perfect brand. I don't want to borrow anything from my bank just so I can build a website. And so, which I've never borrowed money on anything to do everything that I'm doing. And now I was able to quit my job because of all the marketing and all of the hard work. And so marketing is huge. And even email marketing, I incorporated Drip. It's kind of like MailChimp. Incorporating that to your website too, like Drip. So whenever people go on my website, they have an opportunity to sign up for a newsletter and then I get, because email is huge. So I just use Drip to kind of, I have a friend who works at Drip and thankfully he got me like a deal with the Drip people. I'm always looking for a good deal. I always want free stuff. I tell people, this is who I am. I want to be in your community. If we're all growing, if I'm a business owner and I grow and I do well, you're going to grow and do well. So what is the purpose of you not helping me if we're all going to benefit from this? So, so I pushed for that. My mom was a business owner. My brothers are business owners. And so I push really hard. And yeah.
I mean, I feel like you guys will keep getting ahead of me because you're providing all this information and it's also the questions I'm going to be asking down the line. So let's speed this thing up. As a business owner, I've done all my homework. I feel like I'm ready. What are some of the thoughts and processes that go into building an e-commerce site?
Yeah, I guess I can speak about that more generally, and then maybe Roseline, you could share like what process went into your choice. You've talked a little bit about it. I think the first step is deciding what form of e-commerce. So whether you're going to be working with an Etsy type or your own website, both are great approaches, and you can actually do both at the same time if you want to see which one is better for you. And then I would say you decide how much money you want to spend on it, and that will dictate your choice. So there's ways where, you can have a landing page that doesn't actually have a domain that you purchased. You can have a free account through some of these websites to try it out, and basically just linking that from your social media. People are never going to type in your URL to a website anyways. They're most often going to be linking from that. So if you have a small budget, thinking about how you can fit a website into that budget rather than fitting the budget into your website. I think there's so many great websites out there, options for building a website, and it really depends on you. You got to know yourself as a business owner. Are you somebody that really wants to make a really beautiful design and wants to have full control over that? If that's the case, probably Wix is the best one for you if you're really into it. If you have really amazing photography with your business and you have great images that you want to showcase, maybe it's Squarespace. If you want something really, really basic and really not too customizable, but has some options, GoDaddy has some awesome options. If you're willing to work through a little bit of a, I think you should talk a little bit more about WordPress, because I think that can be somewhat unapproachable for some folks, but it's really affordable and really worth the effort when you just take some time to learn how it works, and all the little intricacies of it. And that's the most affordable one out there. So I think a lot of it depends on sort of what your appetite for learning is and what your time. You might not have time. You might be running a big sales business and you don't have time to spend on learning that. So that's when it makes sense to outsource it to a trusted person or to use one of these sites that already has some parameters on it. And I say, I totally agree with Roseline. Start small. Start with a landing page and a link to an e-commerce page. Don't worry about all these features and all these overdone colors and brands and whatnot. Your brand is really important, but your brand is always evolving and it will change according to who your customer base is. You might tweak your brand according to, finding out that your customer base is, women in their 40s and 50s. Your brand is going to look different than if you're trying to work with, Gen Z 20 somethings who are on TikTok, right? Like you have to learn about your customer base as you put your product out there and see how that works. So I would say, all of that, it's kind of a lot of all over the place, but I hope that will help in thinking through. I think going back to yourself and what resources you have and what resources are available to you is the most important first step. And trust that. Don't try to push yourself into something that you don't think you're quite right for. Knowing yourself as an entrepreneur is extremely important and will save you a lot of headache. Like Roseline was talking about, she was looking at all these books on tape and reading about entrepreneurship and e-commerce, and that's who she is as an entrepreneur, and that served you super well. And that not everybody is the same. Maybe you don't have time to do all of that learning, or you're working your other job while you're trying to launch the business, and you only have a couple hours to dedicate a week to it. It really depends, and knowing yourself is the foundation.
Roseline, maybe you can add a little bit more to that by telling us about your personal experience. In terms of you did a great job in giving us the background as to how you came to developing your site. But maybe there's some things a little bit more you can add into some of the thoughts and processes that you consider.
Yep. So I have notes here, and I want to preface this with saying that I got help from people. I did not do this by myself at all because I'm not a tech person. I was a social worker and psychology person. So the first thing I did is you want to buy your domain. So when I found out what my business name was going to be, I bought my domain right away. That way nobody else could have access to it once they saw that I was thriving. So my domain, I used cheapdomains.com. And we bought two websites. We bought Roseline's Crafted Candles and Roseline's Candles because that's how I started my business. I wasn't sure which one I was going to go with. So we just bought both of them, and it only cost us $100 for the whole year to buy the domain. And the second thing I did was I found a hosting. So the hosting that I use is SiteGround. And again, we paid $100 a month for SiteGround to host our website for us. And then after finding a hosting site, the third thing we wanted to do was figure out who was going to be our WooCommerce and also our website builder. Our e-commerce website builder. And we use WooCommerce and WordPress together because it allowed us to be more customizable. Again, I did not figure all of this out myself. My husband and my siblings and other people helped me to figure it out. And also just hiring that person in Miami, that was the website builder, helped me to figure out, how to incorporate WooCommerce and WordPress together, because those were free, open source website builders that I could use to do my e-commerce. And then I incorporated a payment system, which for me was Square. Because Square and WooCommerce have phone apps, I do most of my work on my phone now. I send invoices on my Square app. I send payments on my Square app. I check my orders on my WooCommerce app. And so So those are the three main things I did: the domain, the hosting, and the website builders of WooCommerce and WordPress. And what Katie alluded to is that a lot of website builders are kind of intimidated by WordPress. And I would say learning it yourself. We watched a lot of YouTube videos. So sorry, you lost me there for a minute because my sister's
That's
trying to get
okay.
hold of me.
We still heard you though.
I watched a lot of YouTube videos to help me figure out how my partner and I, we watched YouTube videos upon YouTube videos to figure out how to add things, how to add a product, how to remove a product, how to, because after the woman in Miami helped us to build the website, everything was up to us because she just added stock photos and prices. And that's all she did. She put stock photos and prices, and we had to go in there and put descriptions and everything else. So it's a really simple website, and there's not really much to it besides
one question. Hey, Brian, one quick question I do have is that when you start to look at the payment model, there's Apple Pay, there's Square, there's PayPal. What would you recommend for customers that are starting their online business? Would you prefer them to use all three, or just one in particular is more than others based upon the fees on the back end? So if you guys can elaborate on that a little bit.
Great question.
My opinion, and many people may disagree with me on this, but more avenues of accepting payment is always better for attracting more customers. Of course, you have to weigh the fees, but that's something that you can look at those fees going into it and increase your pricing a little bit. Your price model should be able to cover the margin of your payment methods. You don't want to have, it may be a lot of work for you to manage 100 payment options. I'm not saying that, but I would say definitely consider, if you have the capacity, looking at adding more options for people, because more is typically better. And Square is great because they accept they accept all the credit cards. They have a great mobile interface. But things like, PayPal, do you accept PayPal? People may have their account, their credit card already linked up to their PayPal, and they just want to log in with their credentials. Everybody's got their different preferences, and your job as an e-commerce salesperson is to make the decision between I want to buy this to I've already purchased it as easy as possible. You want that process to be smooth. And if they've got to make another login account, they've got to add their credit card again. Even for me, sometimes I'm shopping online and my credit card's across the room and I'm doing something else, and that's enough to get me to wait on the purchase, which means sometimes I don't go back and make the purchase. So Apple Pay is bad for me as an individual because I just go ahead and I buy those things because it's so easy. But that should be a lesson for entrepreneurs, is to consider that. Put yourself into your customer's shoes and understand which avenues are important to them and what's going to help make that transition or make that transaction as slick as possible. So they make the call and all of a sudden they've already bought it, which is what you want. You want them to act as quickly as they can, so they don't change their mind and have the sort of buyer's remorse, or buyers like, oh, maybe I'll just wait on that purchase, which again, as consumers, we should do better with. But as a business owner, you want to feed into that a little bit, I think.
Now, Katie, is there like a cash app option or Venmo option online, or is that not available? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So that one is a little tough because Venmo and PayPal, or Venmo and Cash App, aren't attached to invoices. Mm-hmm. So that may be tricky. I know a lot of businesses that use their Venmo and Cash App for like donations, like they ask for money to fund the business that way, or like tips they can take through Venmo. But if you're Roseline, you're saying, I've got 1,000 orders to complete this week. I can't keep track of individual names on Venmo that then, so you have to be careful with some of those, that you want to make it accessible, but you also, once you get to a certain scale, like I would guess, Roseline, that you're out of the scale that you can use Cash App and Venmo. But it may be a good tool to sort of try out some things and build some customer loyalty. And I know Instagram, Cash App is the way to go on Instagram. You can send a DM, they send you the handle, and then you pay Cash App. And that works really great for some businesses, especially those who are just trying to keep it a side hustle. But you have to think about sort of the consequences of offering certain payment types. And that's a perfect example. I'm glad you brought up the Cash App Venmo, because it's, it's not attached to an invoice or an order number, and that could create problems down the road.
Thank you.
To speak to that, when I started my business, when I didn't have a website, I took payments on PayPal, Venmo, and Cash App. So I would, because I was small enough that I would keep track of people who ordered on my phone, and I had multiple ways of keeping track of orders. And even when I go to markets, since I have a product, so anybody who has a product, if you're going to markets to sell your product, I have a printout of my Venmo, Cash App, and PayPal handles ready to go for people to sign it, for people to scan it right away. And I also have my Square payment ready to go. So like what Katie was saying, you want to make it easy for people to spend money. You don't ever want, like I've gone to a market where someone told me they didn't want to sell me something because they didn't have payment options that I had. And I walked away and never bought a product from that person again. But I have all three of those, including credit cards, 17 credit cards, so that I can make it easy for people to shop right away and to spend money. Because when they spend money, I stay open and I keep going. And so, and then when you're doing the website, you can link your PayPal to your website and also your Apple Pay and Square to your website. Right now, I only have Square linked to my website. But another thing that I did, if you don't have a website, there's Facebook Marketplace. Facebook allows you to send payment requests. I had a customer who was like, I don't know how to work my PayPal, but I sent her like a number, like you can do it on kind of like what Apple does, where you say, you owe me this much, and you just send it to them, and it was easy. And I would do that, and just making sure you're organized, keeping track of things, because you don't ever want to hold people's money without delivering their product because you forgot to. If it means you have to find a part-time, high school senior who's organizing your payments for you, that's fine. And there's no perfect payment system, but it's good to have, you want to be accessible through all of them, because you don't want to ever turn away a purchase because you don't know how to accept a payment.
And one thing to add too with that is that we haven't talked about Shopify, and Shopify to me is like the premier option for e-commerce.
Yep.
It's a little bit more, it can be a little bit more expensive for folks, but it's really, if you're thinking about a business that you're going to be shipping products and you're concerned about having multiple ways of accepting different currency, credit card, Apple Pay, etc., Shopify is it. They have everything. They make it super easy. They have like, you can even download labels from their site based on customer orders that already has the address. It's super slick. I recommend it. I've built Shopify platforms for businesses. It's really great. It's like the cream of the crop, I think, and especially with COVID, they've really developed some great tools, and you'll pay for them, but that may be worth it if you're really trying to scale. Roseline, are you considering Shopify? You're nodding your head a little bit. Or have you considered it?
No, I never did because I didn't want to pay for it. WooCommerce does everything that they do. I ship directly from my WooCommerce account. And so you just plug in the post office stuff. So you have to learn how to, I just add the plugins, right? There's multiple plugins you can add to your my e-commerce website. So when people buy things, I just I print directly from my website, and but I had to figure out what label to print it on. Again, doing your research, trying different things, working with the post office. I contacted the post office, and I went to the post office and talked to them myself. It's a government entity. It's what it's there for. And if I do well, I spend $1,000 on shipping per month. So why wouldn't they want to help me? So yeah.
Totally.
That's a great point that you bring that up, because as small entrepreneurs, you want to be careful how you construct your product, because you got to ship it. And the shipping costs can really play a very pivotal role in your profit margin of what you're going to charge, or if you're going to pass that charge on to the customer. So, working with your post office to figure out the dimensions of your product, the weight of your product, that's something too that needs to have a very just a conversation around that, because a lot of people don't understand that can affect your business drastically with the profit margin that you're looking at. trying to make.
Yeah, certainly. And it's hard. It's always way harder to raise your prices than lower them.
Yep,
So when
absolutely.
you're thinking about changing your business from in-person to online, you got to think about, what does it cost for me to do all of these parts of, like, how many hours per week is it going to take me to pack these orders?
Yep.
What's the packaging going to cost? Do I need to hire somebody that will be able to pack these boxes for me and take them to the post office? All of those things. Most likely the road is leading to increasing your prices first when you're going online.
Yep.
And as early as possible you can do that, the better. And then you might find that people are happy paying it and it's no issue. You might find that your sales dip a bit. Maybe you need to like work with the price. But the most important thing is you're making your margin, and that's key.
Yep.
I always judge the success of our panel discussions by how many times I have to remind myself to breathe. And I think I've set a new record today. You guys have been coming with great information today. You guys touched on quite a bit of information, and especially as it pertains to sites. I kind of just want to kind of zero in on this very specific question for those who sites or platforms not tech savvy.
I might have missed part of that question. I don't know if it was internet on my end. What was
Yes.
yeah.
Let me ask it again. I think it was on my end. What are some e-commerce sites or platforms?
Apologies.
Did you guys hear that, Katie?
Like your
Yeah, I
audio
saw that.
went
Thanks,
out in,
Felicia.
Brian. But I posted the question in the chat, and just for folks who might be on Facebook, the question was, what are some of the e-commerce sites or platforms for entrepreneurs who are not tech savvy?
I guess it depends on what you mean by not tech savvy. I would think there's some easier platforms that are more manageable to maintain, but if you're not tech savvy, it would make sense for you to work with somebody to help at least get your website going. So I can just show you, let me see if I have the ability. Oh, I can't share my screen. That's okay. For example, I've worked with folks to help build their website, and then they update inventory and change images as needed. And I can post a list of these websites. I think GoDaddy is a great one that I would recommend, because there's not a lot of customization you can do. Most people don't think of GoDaddy as a place where you can create a website, because they do a lot of, they sell domains. Like Roseline was mentioning about how she bought her domain. They've primarily done that, but now they have a system or a template website builder that you can use. And the nice thing about it is there's not a lot of things you can change about it. They have the template and you have to put your content in, but you make it personal by what images and colors you use, rather than having to like move around every object. Wix is pretty good too. You can work with some of their templates, but it's a little bit more flexible where you can actually drag and drop and move things around on the screen, which sometimes gets a little bit wonky. And GoDaddy has great e-commerce options that it's really, really affordable, and you can even create a website for free, and you don't have to even pay for some of the management features depending on where you're starting. So my personal favorites are GoDaddy and Wix, simply because Wix is super flexible and GoDaddy is pretty flexible and pretty affordable, and it's very easy to navigate. That's what I would say for the people who don't think they're very tech savvy. Squarespace is really, really great in functionality, and yet it's a little bit harder for me, who's somebody who's built Squarespace websites. It's a little bit harder for me to navigate, and it's a little bit more frustrating. So personally, that's what I think. And with all these websites, you can do a trial and see if the way that they lay it out makes sense. And that's a good way to try it and see, no, I don't really like how these things are laid out. It's confusing. I don't like it, whatever. That's all fine. You've got good options. So I'm just rolling through them. GoDaddy, Wix, Squarespace, Shopify is another one. And then Roseline, you can talk about the WooCommerce, which I think maybe a little bit more on the tech savvy side, or at least the interest in making it a little, or being able to roll with the bumps along the way. In terms of getting all those plugins and features, because plugins is the big thing with WordPress, where you can pick all these features and they're open sourced and they're amazing, but you've got to figure out how to plug them in the right way and make them look good on the other side. So that's sort of the tricky part, I would say, about WooCommerce and WordPress, but certainly worth it. I've worked a lot on WordPress as well.
For anyone who's gonna work with WooCommerce or WordPress, I would recommend definitely buying your. What, am I muted?
You're fine.
For anybody who's working on their WordPress or WooCommerce or WordPress, buy your domain right away, and then also figure out who's going to host your site, and then find someone who's going to help you walk through it. That's what I did. I just really didn't want to be able to. I wanted to be able to figure it out, but I didn't want to like go in and screw up my website and make it non-functional. So I hired somebody. I hired out for that, and they walked me through it. And then I also, honestly, YouTube. I watched a lot of YouTube videos. If you have time at home where you have two different screens, do one on YouTube and then do one on like have your website open and walk through those things. That's what a lot of what I did is I would have YouTube open on my phone, and then my computer would have my website, and I would just like go in, and then I was like, oh yeah, I get it. So yeah. And then like Katie said, Squarespace, Shopify, Wix, all those things, they will charge you a monthly fee, but it's worth it. I think it's worth it as long as you are having that low stress and able to figure out someone else who can help you with those technicalities before you launch, like before you go it on your own, especially if you're busy.
And the other thing about these Wix and Squarespace, et cetera, they do all of the work in one place to manage your domain. You can get an email account through them, which you could be Gmail. In most cases, it's Gmail. But you can manage all of that through one payment, one dashboard. And that's really nice for a lot of people that, you know, you don't have to make a million choices. You make the first choice, which is this is the platform I'm going with. And then you can make those decisions from within the platform. And with e-commerce, generally, you're going to be charged more for websites, no matter what. You're going to have the transaction capability because that's liability for the company. So they're charging you a little bit more. But you know, there's ways to kind of play around before you get to that point where you're adding the e-commerce functionality. Like Roseline started this conversation by sharing about her story. That's absolutely true. And these sites are a great way to do it. And if it doesn't work for you, don't be afraid to scrap it and start a new one. You're not gonna, especially with the trial features, you're not gonna be out money. Start really slow and don't make it live, or make it live to a small group of your friends who you trust and ask them what they think and how it's working or not working, all that. And there's so many great resources. If you Google which website e-commerce platform should I choose, you can read people who talk about this and have opinions on it. And we have our own opinions because we use them, and you know, they're just that, they're opinions. Some things work for some people, they don't work for others, and that's why there's options out there, and that's why it's really great to have options.
Well, we want to open it up to a few questions to our audience before we have to adjourn. We have one question already. It comes from Jasmine McConnell. She says, I'm working on a business to business membership service and subscription box services. What's the ideal amount of time for marketing before launch to gain traction online?
I would say if you have Instagram, social media accounts and stuff like that, do it within like 3 to 2 weeks before, and even the week before. So a week before any major event for me, I do like a daily and do it in different ways. So if you did a video, think about doing a post. If you did a post, think about doing an email. If you did an email, think about doing like other things. So give yourself time and space it out and really hype people up about it within like 3 weeks, because people forget things if it's like a month, or especially within that 2 to 1 week mark. Just really go hard at it. I don't know if that answers the question.
I totally agree. A month is the maximum amount of time, and it really depends on the type of business that you're into. What you want to have it build energy and momentum, not be something that people see and then it's too long so they forget about it. You want to sustain that energy, and if you can't post every day or every couple days for a month, which most people can't, it's a tough one. So yeah, I would say shorten the cycle and put more energy into the launch, and have a variety of ways that you're pulling in, not just your Facebook and Instagram, but maybe you're doing collaboration with other brands. You're talking about your business to business membership model. Bring in some of those other businesses that you're partnering with and have them kind of cross promote for you and with you and have it be a big party. Facebook is great when you can make it a big party and a social thing. It's not so great when you're just like selling your product. And I think, Roseline, I've just looked at your Instagram earlier, and your Instagram is so good at that because it's a lot of you. Like, you're talking about things, you're excited about it, you're showing, it's not just photos of your product, it's a little bit more holistic than that. So bring in the excitement around just the launch, and try to find ways to use your relationships to kind of build some of that excitement up. That's what I would say.
Our time is running out, but I included my emails in the chat. I know some questions may come to mind later on that we may want to present to our panelists for today. So if any of you have questions that we did not get a chance to answer, please email me those questions and I will follow up with Katie and Roseline later on and provide that information in our resource document that we'll provide later. Let's give our panelists a big hand today. You guys were absolutely great.
Yeah. I'm also open to taking
great.
phone calls and emails. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and send me an email. Email is slower for me because I use SiteGround for my email, but literally I live on Instagram. So if you really wanted to get a hold of me, find me on Instagram.
Yeah, good luck, everybody. It's exciting to hear so much interest in e-commerce, and yeah, any way that I can help, echo that. I'm happy to step in. So,
All right, Felicia Perry, do you have any closing remarks for us today?
No, I do not. I want to thank everybody for joining. We're sold out for the member mixer tonight, so if you did get you a ticket, I will see y'all later. And yeah, thanks for joining the luncheon.
Thank you all.
All right. Have
We
a
still have
wonderful day.
lunches.
Have a wonderful day, you all. I'm going to go ahead and turn us off on Facebook. Thanks for everyone who joined us on Facebook and asked questions. And we will see you next month on the third Thursday.
thank you.